welcome to another episode of Get to Know My Network. Okay, so I'm going to start off by painting a little picture for you. Today's guest, I met him probably about 3+ years ago. I used to dance for him. No, guys, it's actually not that dodge. I used to be part of a team where he was managing the team and doing like the musical directing and stuff like that. And I was part of the choreography and dancing and stuff. And you know, as in life, you never really know what somebody's doing unless you ask them. And I think over the next few years, I got to know exactly what he was up to. And to my surprise, he is actually like this huge powerhouse of note that's like all wrapped up in this bundle of like happiness and smiles. But let me not be like overly cheesy, and let's meet today's guest, the amazing Denzil Thorne. So Denzil, firstly, thank you so much for squeezing us into your busy schedule. Okay, I'm gonna get straight into it. So my first question would be, what does a day in the life of Denzil Thorne look like?
Alright, I wake at 6 in the morning, grab my toothbrush and grab my socks. Oh, you don't want that details? Oh, sorry, I'm going to spare you the details. Okay, I do have a day job. I actually work for the department of the Premier. I'm a technology manager. I got a cool job, a really cool job. I actually look after the infrastructure for, or the infrastructure for the Department of Health and Social Development. I look after all the hospitals and the institutions, so it's a really cool job, and I really love that. So anyway, I've got a 9 to 5, bottom line, but I finish at 4. And then I get home and I get ready for gym straight away, because I do believe in living healthy and feeling good and looking good. So I spend 2 hours in gym every day.
Done.
Yeah, I love it as well. I come home, I'm in pain, so because you do enter the pain domain. And then immediately when I get back from gym, you know, obviously, I'm skipping a lot of the little details, but when I do get home, I get straight into studio again, and that's where I spend most of my time. That's where I have the most fun, actually.
We're gonna move to question number 2.
Okay, cool.
Because I think that you need to put it like in perspective a little. Like tell the people how the journey began. How do you get to this day in the life of Denzil?
Okay, so obviously after school I studied. In fact, no. After school I went straight to work. You know, obviously I wanted to help my mom. My mom was the only breadwinner, and I wanted to find a job to help her, you know, get some income in the house as well. And then I decided to study part-time. So I actually studied personnel management, you know, because I was going to go into that career, because I was working in the HR department at the time. And then I studied part-time. It was quite a sacrifice, but you know what? The sacrifice that I made was nothing compared to the sacrifice that my mom made for me at the time. And I thought that's the best way to repay her. So I studied. And eventually I switched to IT, because that's where I wanted to be. I always wanted to be in IT. I studied and finished my diploma at the Cape Technicon, as it was known at the time. And as soon as I finished my studies, I actually got the job in the IT department at the Department of the Premier. So, but that was the work side of it. In the meantime, back at the ranch. Music started in church for me. So I was a church boy. My granddad was a pastor. My mom was the choir leader. My uncle then became a pastor as well. So eventually I knew this was the path that I was going to follow. You know, I really found the joy in the music, and you know, watching the guys playing guitars and you know and the drums and all sorts of stuff, and I just got excited. And I thought, hey, listen, this looks really cool. This is what I want to do. And I started picking up the guitar, taught myself, and I was just watching the guys. You know, we had some good musicians in church back in the day. I just watched them, and And one of the guys took me under his wing and he said, hey, listen, I'll show you some chords and I'll just show you the basics. And he showed me that. And then I thought, hey, but we've got like 5 or 6 guitarists in the church and there's like 1 keyboard player, which happened to be the pastor. And like he had to jump from the keyboards and he had to jump to preaching and stuff. And I thought, you know what, gives me an idea. I could relieve him from some of that.
Gap in the market.
You know, there's a gap. And then my mom then actually bought me this little electronic keyboard. We know it today as the Casio Tone, which was back in the day the go-to little electronic keyboard. But I got the Yamaha, you know, I was a little step up, you know, already. I taught myself. I learned from the keyboard how to construct chords and stuff, and actually it helped me a lot. But then I got to a point where I felt, no, look, being self-taught is okay, and I can play from the heart and I can play from, you know, from the head, but and I play by ear. But I needed to understand the concept of music, and I needed to understand the theory. And I actually enrolled myself at the jazz workshop. I went to study there for a couple of months. I was with a guy called Merton Burrows, who's actually he runs the jazz workshop, and he's like one of the top, you know, guys in the industry. And that was really great, learning that. But then I wasn't playing in any band or anything, and I wasn't playing in church yet. I was just doing guitar and stuff, and you know, Sundays there was the band and they used to do their thing. And I thought, how am I going to get my opportunity? You know, and then I started going to the midweek services, you know, like the prayer meetings and stuff. And a lot of the musicians didn't actually go to the prayer meeting. And I thought, there's my chance.
Another gap in the
I grabbed my guitar and I went to the prayer meeting and I went to the, you know, to the in-betweeners and the Bible studies and stuff. And then I started playing guitar, you know, in the midweek. Until, you know, obviously the pastor took notice and the band leader took notice, and they said, hey, listen, let's give this dude a chance on the Sunday morning. And then I started playing guitar Sundays, you know, occasionally. So I would say that my education was kind of being thrown into the deep end. And I actually, that's my philosophy today, kind of just throw people into the deep end and you learn to swim. Or you learn to fly on the way down. You know? So that's kind of where what got me where I am. It's that kind of education. I went to the jazz workshop to learn the theory, and from there I actually went to other tutors as well. There was a guy called Gilbert Lang, who was really great, and so I go back to them every now and then just to get some inspiration again, because you know, you get to a point where you stagnate and then you just feel that you need that little lift, and that's what happened to me. So that was kind of my musical journey. Started in church, and you know, then I started getting booked by other productions to actually start doing shows for them, and it was a lot of tribute shows, and it got to a point where I actually started becoming the musical director of these shows, and then from musical director I started producing music for other artists. And for, you know, so the one thing just led to the other, but I will never forget the beginning. It was where I actually just watched the other guys and learning from them and getting inspired from them.
So Denzil, today we find ourselves doing this recording in a very special room in your HQ, I'm going to go with that, and this is what you call the Blue Room, but it's so much more. Please share with our viewers about Blue Room.
So actually Blue Room, in a nutshell, Blue Room Media is actually the parent group, or what's actually the Blue Room Media Group. That's basically what it is, and it consists of the Blue Room Studios, BluRoom Records, and then there's Blue Room Entertainment. But today I want to speak about the Blue Room Studio and Blue Room Records specifically. Okay, so Blue Room, how it all started was, I'm always being creative on my keyboard and stuff, and I'm playing some stuff and playing chords, and I like being creative on that, finding new sounds and stuff. But the one big problem that I always had was I never actually recorded the stuff. And I always think that, you know, my mind is still young, and I remember the things the next day, and believe me, the next day I've forgotten the stuff. And but I'm not, you know, I took heart from that, because I know that it will come back to me. As long as I stay creative, whatever I've learned yesterday, whatever I've created yesterday will come back to me. I would just hear sounds in my head and I'm like, where did I hear this before? And then it would actually be a part that I played weeks ago or months ago. So but then I decided, hey, listen, no, I've got to find a way to actually record these things. So I invested in good equipment. I invested in keyboards and workstations, and then I met up with a friend of mine, and he said to me, hey, listen, why don't I get get yourself a PC, I've got some software, get some studio monitors, we put it down, and we actually start workshopping stuff. And then I said, hey, that sounds like a cool idea, let's do that. And that happened for a couple of months, and then eventually my friend had to take the equipment back. And then I decided, let me just buy the equipment. Let me buy my own gear. So I bought my own PC, I bought my studio monitors, I bought software, and obviously I had the keyboard. And then I just started putting things down. So everything that I've been playing in church, I was very creative in church, and I think the church ladies and the guys, the brothers, they used to like the chords that I was playing, and little did they know that I was throwing in some Michael Jackson stuff in there. I was throwing in some R&B, Boys to Men, and some Mariah Carey, but I was using all the influences. But while doing that, I was also creating my own sound and creating kind of my own brand. Eventually, we decided, let's make the BluRoom Studios a pre-production studio. So in other words, whenever we have ideas, let's just put it down. And then once we've got it to a certain point, let's book a big studio and then actually go and record these ideas that we have and put it down in a proper format. And that's what then happened. When recording big studios, sometimes it's very professional, which I like, but sometimes it's very clinical and sometimes it's very cold. And I find that sometimes you can't really project what you project in your own comfortable environment. And then I realized, hold it, let's come back home, fix up the room, make it a bit more acoustic, and get a sound booth, and then actually just make this the studio.
Denzil, share with us a little bit about what projects are that BluRoom's up to now, and will be up to in the upcoming months.
So, hey, the last few months it's been crazy busy, but I loved it. I recorded with a guy called Terence Roder, and we wrote a song, he sent us the beat, and he wanted us to provide a singer and to come up with the melody and lyrics for the song. And that song actually went to #1 on radio in Cape Town. And then immediately I started writing for the BluRoom series. So the BluRoom series is actually consists of it's a 5-part episode. There's 5 episodes in the series. So each episode tells a story, but it's actually about the evolution of love. So it's about 2 people meeting. They're both in their own relationships, but then there's this eye contact thing. So the first song is called "Looking at You." And so, not to give too much away, because we actually officially launching the BluRoom series in Feb of this year. So, but the first song was already released in October 2017. So that's basically the BluRoom series. We're very excited about that. So I've partnered up with songwriters and performers on that song. Actually, the whole thing was really exciting because when we wrote the songs, I came up with the music, I sent it over to my songwriter, and then we hooked up with another songwriter who happens to also be a rapper, and then the 3 of us kind of we developed this thing, and then we needed a singer, and we decided we wanted to use somebody completely unknown, but not necessarily unknown, but maybe just somebody that hasn't really being featured on radio, or that doesn't really have a product out on the market. And then we went on this whole mission to find somebody. And this process actually taught me that, hey, listen, why don't you make it happen? Why don't you do it for somebody? And that's exactly what we did. So we've been going around to all these little pop-up open mic sessions, and we went to check out all these performances. I went to every blog and every website to check where these performances, and I went at night after work, we used to go out and just look for these little gems of artists. So we found the artist, and that was how the BluRoom series season 1 was birthed. So anyway, the other project that we did as well was the Christmas album for artists called Lucy Tops and Gary Naidu.
Yes.
They approached me, and we felt that we wanted something different this time, and something more Cape Townian, something more closer to home. You know, because we always speak about the white Christmas, but we don't really have snow. And we always speak about Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. We don't have reindeer, you know, dogs and cats. So I was very excited to work on that project as well, because they came with 5 original tracks, and they asked me to write an additional jazz kind of standard song for that had to sound Christmassy, Cape Town Christmassy, you know, Cape Town jazz, and I did that as well. And then we had 3 cover songs, or three familiar Christmas songs that we covered on there as well, and that went down very well as well. The album was an absolute success. We loved it very much. People loved it very much. And so anyway, that was the process for me. And then I decided I needed to take a break closer to Christmas, and I went through a serious bout of withdrawal, because then I got less busy, you know. And then but as soon as the Christmas album got out, and as soon as people started hearing the song on radio from the BluRoom series, they started contacting me. And then it was just word of mouth, and things just escalated from there. So I'm just doing different artists, either producing their songs or recording the vocals, or just producing the vocals. You know, it's a mixture of things that I'm doing. So some of them are just booking the studio, some of them are actually booking the full-on service of the BluRoom Records. Quite excited about that. So for this year, we've got season 2, but I've already nailed 3 or 4 songs for season 2.
Sure.
So we are currently in the process of just finishing them off. So we're thinking of what might happen is, as we release season 1, it has to be in succession, obviously, because of the story. But we might throw something in between. So listen out, you might actually hear something before you get the next episode. I'm very excited about it.
So as everybody knows, this is the point in the interview where I join my inspirational in doing something fun or relaxing that they enjoy doing. Within reason.
Okay.
So tell everybody what will I be joining you in doing today?
So, you know, the one thing that I might not have mentioned to you earlier on is that I love traveling. That's one of the things that I believe that every person should do.
So I'm not traveling?
Traveling.
Oh, okay, no, I'm not traveling with you.
Money makes you rich, but traveling, it fills your soul.
Oh, yes.
So, and it's very educational. So that's something that I like to do. But I can't always travel. So and because I love, and the second thing that I love doing is extreme sports. Are you keen on doing bungee jumping with me, or are you keen on doing...
That within reason what comes again.
All right. I love doing extreme sports as well, like, you know, doing bungee jumping or doing paragliding, parasailing. But, you know, bringing it back home and keeping it simple. Because of my love for traveling, I love exploring as well. And the one thing that I love doing, absolutely love doing, is finding spots in my own city and exploring my own city. You will never understand how inspiring that is to me, because especially when I'm making music, sometimes you just need to take a break, and my break would maybe include taking a drive, and I'm not even sure where I'm going, but I'll take that drive and I'll find a spot, and I'll just look for inspiration, and I'll actually go there. And that's one of the things that I like doing. I like finding spots in my own community, or even in my own country or city. So that's one of the things that I really, really enjoy doing, because I find inspiration. I mean, I don't know if you've ever sat around a campfire and you just stare at the flames, and your mind just goes to a different place. Nobody can control it. It just happens, and that is exactly how I feel when I make a discovery. I will look at the waves, you know, my mind is just at a different place altogether. Or I'll see the sunset, or you know, I'll just look at the moon and the shape, or I'll see the clouds, or whatever. Whatever it is, and I can't tell you what it's going to be, and I can't tell exactly what it is that I'm looking for, but I just find inspiration. And when I come back, hey, listen,
make magic.
Exactly. And I hope that inspiration inspires me to write the hit song.
Sure.
And that's the ultimate dream.
So you know when you're sitting up at night and you've worked hard during the day and you know you still got so much to do and you're just feeling like crazy tired. Well, when I found myself in those situations, that is when I'm most inspired by Denzil. It's in those times when I also realize that God brings certain people into your life to inspire you and help you through certain situations. And I think the way that Denzil inspires me in those situations is like, I'll be sitting there super tired and I'm like, WWDD, what would Denzil do? And what he would do, he would smile, finish the work, and then go to sleep. So I would like to thank Denzil so much for being that influence in my life, and I look forward to working with BluRoom.